Good morning. Thank you for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Shaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host for today's program. So, thank you so much, Dr. C, for reposting the stream on X. I do love to read the comments and also give shouts out to those that are listening this morning. So if you are listening from Facebook, YouTube, or X, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. So guys, yeah, it's been a lot going on. I know everybody probably has what they call protest fatigue. I know I do. Just been following it. And so I do want to play not too many videos, but there is a particular outlet that I've been watching on YouTube, and they are called Agenda Free TV. I'm not sure of the gentleman's name that is hosting it, but he's great. You know, he's there, he's following it. If he gets different feeds from different YouTubers, or if he knows of other channels that may have different coverage or angles, he'll let you know in real time. But he's been doing a great job at Agenda Free. And I think his name is Lookner, Lookner, and he's on X. So, just give him a follow on X, or definitely subscribe to the channel on YouTube. So we're going to start out with that, and then we're going to get into um, No Kings, right? Because I want everybody to know what's going on the 14th. And then I wanted to take a look at the whole rapid response for ICE. I know a lot of people have been talking about that, and I didn't really know what it was. So I just wanted to, walk through it with you guys to discover what I was actually able to find and come up with. So without any further delay, let's get into this video. Now, this video is an 8-hour video. If you would love to go back and watch it, you can. I'm not. But I just wanted to give you maybe just a brief watch of what's been happening in LA if you have not watched any of the quote unquote protests going on. Now, also understand that Los Angeles is under a curfew. Now, here's the thing. Typically, with a curfew, you have to leave the area, period, right? You just have to leave and that's it. Well, they only gave them a curfew for a section of the city. Like I told everybody the other day, just in the metropolitan area, there's over close to maybe 10 million people, and there's only 7,000, maybe, of police officers and National Guardsmen, okay, along with the Marines. So they're completely outnumbered by these people that are down there. And it's interesting because they'll like chase them off one area and they'll just keep walking around a different area. So it's it's sad, it's disgusting. Um, Los Angeles is a failed city, and California has become a failed state. So definitely pray for what's going on there. But let's give it a watch. Now, this is curfew. They should not be on the streets right now, but they are all out in the streets. So even the National Guard and the police cannot get people to leave. They can't get them to leave. They shouldn't even be there. Curfew started at 8 o'clock, and according to the clock, is 8:40. Yeah, and he's got a dual screen going on, you guys. So that's why it looks a little bit confusing. And I'll go ahead and pause it. But that is what it looked like at 8:40. Now, it was issued at 8 a.m. Okay. And I'm just kind of fast forwarding through some time. Let's see what it looked like. let's see, an hour. So, they did disperse some people by that time. So traffic was, flowing in certain parts of the city. This is about like an hour and 15 minutes into it. So they were able to regain, you know, some control after that. But they had to block the freeway so that the people wouldn't walk on the freeway. Yeah. So I'm gonna pause it there. And there's another outlet you might want to watch, AXN News in Los Angeles. They've been able to get some great footage as well. So if you're on YouTube, definitely check out Agenda Free TV and AXN News. And like I said, this individual, I think he's on X under Luke Ner, Lookner. So, like I said, definitely give him a follow. I will be following on my account and thanking him for just the coverage that he's been able to bring. But see, a lot of these protests are brought to you by No Kings. So let's check it out. So this is from Third Act, and this is another group I think that's associated with No Kings. And again, this is for Saturday, June 14, 2025. Third Act joins the No Kings National Day of Action. Rise up with us as we reject the president's taxpayer funded birthday parade and corrupt display of strongman politics. So on June 14th, they're going to be celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Army. It just so happens to fall on the same day and weekend as the president's birthday. So so it's kind of two celebrations at once, but it's predominantly for our military, right? The same military that everybody wants to trash and talk bad about and cuss about, but this is the same military who people join and sacrifice their lives so we can be, yeah, I said it yesterday. Progressive ideology is death and destruction. That's what it equals. When somebody tells me they're progressive, I'm like, yeah, you hate everything, and but you feel entitled, right? You hate everything, but you want your $10 gelato. I'm just saying that's who you are, and I'm not going to apologize for it. Um, so Donald Trump is planning a military parade in Washington, D.C. for his birthday on June 14th. This display of might is intended to intimidate opponents and solidify his image as a strong man on our dime. We won't stand by while that happens. Instead of allowing this military parade to be the center of gravity, we will make action everywhere else the story of America that day. So they are literally planning disruptive acts on that day because they said we will make action everywhere else. What kind of actions are you going to make? That's my question because I want arrests set up. So just know, Kings, Kings people, deployments have been made in all of these wonderful little cities where you're at. And I'm okay if any of you steps a toenail out of line, get snatched up and thrown into prison. I'm good with it. I'm good. Like, I'm good. We're tired. The American people are
We've unified our end-to-end encrypted services to make them easier to use together, because privacy should be the default for everyone. With the new Proton ecosystem, you can add events to Proton Calendar automatically when you accept an invitation. Easily share large files with a secure Proton Drive link. Send secure Proton Drive links privately with Proton Mail.
And we are back. Sorry about that little technical bubble that we had. Hopefully you guys heard me. If you didn't, I definitely apologize, but hopefully everything is a lot better now. I did check my settings. I just want to check them really quick on my audio to make sure. Okay. All right. We're good. We're good. Sorry about that. Like, I'm tech support. I'm kind of everything right now. So thank you so much, everybody, for hanging in there with me. But I wanted to check out this rapid response to ICE. I had heard about it over the weekend, and I was like, what are they talking about? Like, I know where ICE has said we should call them, right? Like, if we see things out of sort, to call in, maybe activity where we see people that are illegally here that may, be involved in some things, or somewhere where ICE needs to be, where they're they just need to be picked up because we know they're not from this country. But this is the opposite. This is actually calling people and alerting them that ICE is coming. Okay. So it says here the San Francisco Rapid Response Network is a collaboration between SFILEN. I have no what that I do not know what that acronym means. I guess this is for San Francisco. SFILDC. So whatever that acronym is, it's predominantly in San Francisco, providing a 24-hour hotline with language capacity in Spanish, Arabic, and Chinese. Alameda County also has a hotline. In case of emergency, you can report ICE activity and enforcement actions by calling your local rapid response network, such as the Central Valley. I'm not giving phone numbers, you guys, I'm just reading through it. And the Sacramento Rapid Response Network has a hotline with language capacity in Spanish and English. A rapid response team is a network of safe homes formed to hide and shield undocumented aliens from deportation by U.S. immigration authorities, along with an effort by the ACLU to provide legal assistance to undocumented immigrants facing deportation by the U.S. Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement Agency. Okay, that was a lot to unpack, y'all. Oh my goodness. We actually have agencies in place to defy and hide criminals. These people are criminals. They are not. These people are criminals, okay? And they are giving them aid and comfort. I'm just gonna have to pull it up. I'm just gonna have to pull it up. I got to. I got to do it in real time. And I'm probably spelling treason right. I'm wrong. Don't judge me. Judge me. Oh my goodness. Gotta read it. You know why I have to read it? Because I don't think people understand. I don't think people understand the weight that this carries. It says treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in open court. Okay. Aid and comfort to the enemy as treason. So I want to look at this section. Okay. Treason against the United States shall consist only of levying war against them, right? Or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. It's this part for me right here. Because you are giving aid and comfort to enemies of this country. They are enemies. They are. They've invaded our country. They are here illegally. They have broken crimes, and you are using our tax dollars like the ACLU uses the tax dollars. I want people to understand this is our money that they are using against us. Okay. Anything that the ACLU has as far as government contracting goes, if they have any, it needs to be removed. And any NGOs that are protecting these people here illegally, they need to be brought up on charges. They need to be brought up on charges. Like, I'm done as an American citizen paying for people to abuse me. It's happening. It's happening. It says, since ex parte bolum, the few treason cases that have reached the Supreme Court arose in the context of World War II and involved defendants charged with aid and comfort. In the first of these cases, Kramer versus United States, the court considered whether the overt act at issue must itself manifest a treacherous intention or if it was enough that other proper evidence supports such an intention. The court, in a 5-4 opinion by Justice Robert Jackson, in effect took the former view, holding that the treason clauses, two witnesses principle prohibited imputation of incriminating acts to the accused by circumstantial evidence or by the testimony of a single witness, even though the single witness in question was the accused himself. Every act, movement, deed, and word of the defendant charged to constitute treason must be supported by the testimony of two witnesses. Okay. Justice Jackson asserted Justice William Douglas, in a dissent joined by Chief Harlan Stone and Justices Hugo Black and Stanley Reed, contended that Kramer's treasonable intention was sufficiently shown by overt acts as attested to by two witnesses each, plus statements Kramer made on the witness stand. I won't get any more into it, but I think you guys can understand where I'm coming from. They are giving these people aid and comfort. War has been waged against the American people. We have people here on this soil that don't respect our country, and they want us to take care of them. Okay. Hey, Jamal. Good morning. Thank you so much for reposting the stream here on X. And we're also live on Facebook and YouTube. So this is treason that's going on by these organizations. And I find it, I just got to read it again. It says a rapid response team is a network of safe homes formed to hide and shield undocumented aliens from deportations by U.S. immigration authorities. You're committing a crime. That's a crime. You're aiding and abetting. I'm like, wow. And nobody's in jail. I think that's the frustrating part. I think that DOJ, look, this was a Google search. And this just happened to pop up. Walk with me and arrest these people. The ACLU, this is along with an effort by the ACLU. So they're in cahoots with them to provide legal assistance to undocumented immigrants
facing deportation by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. This is where they're like, well, they need due process. No, they don't. They are not here legally. They don't get due process. You know what your due process is? Oh, you're here illegally? Bye. That's your due process. That's it. You do not need to be here. You came here illegally. We have an immigration process. We have a legal immigration process. You are not going to walk over people who've been in line for years doing it the right way and just come in here and expect to get citizenship. No. And if you think you're going to get that whole little 18-month walk of citizenship under President Biden, nope, that's been reversed. And we, the people, we will fight it. See, I don't, in all of their little, how should I say, what should I call it? Think tanks and sitting around war game, how they're going to destroy the country. Guess what? You know what, the American people, we got something for you. We got something for you. We're not doing this. Look, Francis, and I'm going to refer to all of the evil people as Francis. So whenever I say Francis, you guys know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the WEF, the IMF, the United Nations, just all the evil 1%ers that consider us useless eaters. I'm going to call him Francis. Okay, Francis, stop it. We're not doing this with you. We're just not going to do it. And good morning. Somebody said good morning. Hey, good morning, BDCO. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you. Thank you. And again, Dr. C, good morning. Thank you for reposting. And Jamal, thank you so much for reposting this morning. So you guys, I'm kind of fired up about this. I don't know about you, but I am. Now, this is what we had read about, but this is the link to the ACLU. And I guess this is the Southern California Rapid Response Network. I only wanted to look at it briefly because I was curious to find out, like, you guys are literally going against a federal agency. Okay. I mean, I could see if you want to protest against a federal agency. Okay. But it's another thing to actually tell people how to circumvent the law, and you're protecting people that have broken the law. Like, they're already criminals. And I know people have said, well, it's just a civil offense. Well, guess what? It's a civil offense, but it's also punishable by jail time. Why would you get jail time if it's not a criminal offense? That's the other part, right? And still, if it's a civil penalty, it's still a penalty, which means you have broken the law, period. This is almost like, well, I only told a little lie. All lies are equal. Just like sin, all sin is equal, from the little white lie to the murderer. Sin is sin. That's it. It doesn't get a scale and wait, well, this one's bigger than that one, and this one's smaller than this one. So you don't, no, they're all the same. Stop coddling these people, and really stop coddling them on my dime and everybody else's. We're tired. We're upset. Okay. And they're saying, in case of emergency, you can report ICE activity and enforcement actions by calling your local rapid response network. Okay, so here, in my opinion, sorry, hair's getting my eyes. Here's where it gets illegal, because you were telling people how to evade. You're giving them call numbers and saying, hey, call us and we'll tell you what to do to evade getting deported, pretty much. Because when ICE is called, ICE has already done the background work. They're coming to just pick people up and detain them and deport them, like tag them and bag them. Like that's their job. Okay. That's it. They tag them, bag them, and deport them. Okay. And you're telling people to call you if you see any ICE activity. You are putting people in danger. You are literally putting people in danger, and they're just doing their job. They're just doing their job. So not only are you telling people how to evade what they're doing, which is criminal activity, so you're aiding and abetting criminals on that end, you're interfering with a federal stance, and you're interfering with federal duties that these ICE officers are doing. It is criminal what you're doing, ACLU. I don't know if you realize that, but I guess, once criminals are doing their criminal activity and they're doing their thing, they're just doing their thing. They're just doing their thing, and they don't care. They truly, truly don't care. Oh, thank you so much for your response, Dr. C. Yeah, look, I'm not about it. I'm not about criminal activity. But then on the other flip side of this, you say, okay, well, we've come here illegally. You need to give us clothing, food, and shelter. Like I said, earlier this week, I was like, it's like coming into somebody's house. You've invited, you haven't even invited somebody over. They just come into your house, kick their feet up on your coffee table and demand a beer. And then after they're through drinking the beer, they just throw it into your television and break the TV set and look at you like, what? Oh, I'm going to stay here in your house. Oh, and by the way, you're going to pay for me to stay here. Oh, and by the way, you're going to give me food and clothing and shelter, by the way. If anybody did that and walked into somebody's house, look, first of all, they probably wouldn't make it to the couch. They probably wouldn't make it. I'm just saying they wouldn't make it. It wouldn't be a thing. But as the American people, you expect us to capitulate to this stuff. It's just not a thing. It's just not a thing. And Dr. C says, laws in this country are not being enforced internationally. America is imploding on itself. You are not wrong. You are not wrong. And all of this is by design. All of this is by design. Yesterday, I want to say I read over the immigration replacement tactics that they have going on. Replacement migration. Let me get the terminology right. So they do want to replace citizens all over the world, not just here in the United States. And they say it's because of declining age. The age is getting higher, and we're not turning over people fast enough to replace the people that are elderly, right? And I was like, well, we have something called, having babies. like that's how we, increase our population. But their plan is to come from other countries outside of those countries listed. I think there was like maybe 10 or 12 countries listed, but none of them were Middle Eastern countries. It wasn't Mexico. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't places like it wasn't South America. South America wasn't on the list for replacement migration, but they want people from those countries to come to places like France, the United States, Russia, Europe. Yeah. So this is everywhere. It is totally everywhere. And so, see, Dr. C has a question. How do people know where ICE is moving? So right. But that's the thing. That's why they have these numbers set up. So let's just say scenario, and I'll use Los Angeles as a scenario. And kind of not simple, but kind of simple. So, they have the day laborers in places like Home Depot, predominantly. I've not seen them at Lowe's, but at Home Depot. And somebody there may be like, hey, ICE has, been in this area, or we think that ICE is in this area. Because the thing is, and I want to go to the ICE website just to see if maybe their website tips people off, because ICE does have a tip line section, right, where you can call or you can send them, maybe a screenshot or, store, whatever you need to send them so they can go and investigate, right? But on the flip side of that, because you can do that, there are other people constantly searching to see where ICE is going to be and see how ICE is going to be moving. And you're right, Dr. C, they might have moles right within ICE that are tipping these people off. We don't know. right? We don't know that part. But even on the outside, you've got people making these calls. Again, I'll use the Home Depot scenario. You've got people that are illegal there looking for work. And I've heard of people calling ICE on these people, right? But let's just say somebody's 10 miles away. Let's just say they're 10 miles away and they see the ICE trucks or whatever. They can call one of these phone numbers or even call their relatives and be like, hey, you guys might want to get out of there. ICE is coming. That's the network that they're building. Okay. It's that. It's like a lower level social media network. So they're not necessarily posting all of this stuff on social media. Some of it is being posted, but this is why they have these phone numbers. So you can call them, right? You would, so if I was in, let's say if I was in Los Angeles, I would call this local response network and they'd be like, hey, where have you seen ICE? So we can report to people so they know not to be in this area, or we can, be there. We can send somebody to protect people. This is how they're rolling. But this is, in my opinion, this is the treasonous part because they're giving aid and comfort to these people by doing this. This is aid and comfort. Actually, it's accessory to a crime, pretty much. It might be more of an accessory to a crime than aiding and abetting, than giving them comfort, right? Which is probably worse, that you're accessory to a crime and they're already criminals. Here's my thing. If they weren't criminals, why are you going out of your way to protect them from federal agents? Look, I'll wait. Really? And you're using our money. I think that's the part that's the insult to injury for me, is that our tax dollars are being used to support this. So the ACLU, if they get any type of government funding, I need them defunded. And I need them actually listed as a terrorist organization because they are literally protecting terrorists. We don't know who's MS-13 that they're protecting within, you know what I'm saying? We don't know. Or Trendiagra. We don't know. Do they? Because all these people aren't just these sweet little innocent people that they're protecting from ICE picking up. Because see, those are the people that ICE are still picking up. And where the majority of them are? They are in California. Wreaking havoc on people. Wreaking havoc. And they support that. Yeah, ACLU, you support it. So as far as I'm concerned, you need to be deemed a terrorist organization. Just like Trendiagra, just like MS-13. You need to be deemed a terrorist because you are. You are a complete terrorist organization. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it all. And I'm not scared. Because this is disgusting. This is completely disgusting. And with that, we're going to take a little bit of a quick break. And when we come back, what we are going to do is we're going to get into the news that I like to get into with all sides. So we're going to visit that website and just check out some of the news of the day. I want to give some people some hope, hopefully, because it's a crazy day. But also, it's Women in Wellness Wednesday. Yay. Oh, that's what I forgot to tell you guys. So we had someone on our program, I want to say about a week ago, and her name was Amy Anderson, my sister from church. And guess what, guys? Somebody reached out to her here in Georgia regarding the baby boxes and wants to have a further discussion with her to see how they can help her with that. So I'm really, really excited that somebody's going to be talking to her about that legislation. And I'm grateful that they found out about it, through a post on this program. So yay, Amy, for fighting the good fight and for saving the babies. So there, like I said, there is some good news. I know I get a little bit hot and heavy. I know I get a little bit intense up here because I'm passionate about this country, as you can see. Wearing Old Glory. And I want to make sure that people are safe and protected and taken care of on all levels. So with that, we're going to take a short break. And I will see you guys on the other side. And thank you for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Shakinoni Nichols, and I will be your host. And so if you joined us in the previous segment, we were talking about, just some of the protests, quote unquote, going on in Los Angeles, in California, and also talking about the ACLU. And in my opinion, they should be deemed a terrorist organization for the coordinations that they are doing by aiding and abetting criminals that are here within our country, particularly within the state of California. They have developed what is called a rapid response for ICE, where people can call if they see any ICE activity happening, right? So if they know that ICE might be in the area, they're calling people that are undocumented in that area to hide or go somewhere. And they're also supplying these people with legal representation. Now, here's my thing. If you're doing it with dark money, which whatever, dark money, as long as it's not my money, not that I don't care, but maybe I would be a little less offended. But I'm still offended because you're using our resources still to protect these people. Get them out of this country. And again, I want the ACLU deemed as a terrorist organization. Also, if we're going to see what happens on June 14th. That's all I got to say. Because if June 14th pops off crazy, I want every single, and I mean every single partner with no kings deemed a terrorist organization. I want them all on the list. Every single one of you, Planned Parenthood, because you're on that list too. You partner with these people. Yes. I want you all deemed terrorist organizations to this country. Period. Yep. Shut it down. Shut it down. I want you on the list. Shut this down. Do not coddle these people. They are not reasonable, and they don't want to be. They want our country to fail. This is why they're doing all of these protests everywhere. Because here's the deal. If they can, how should I say, spread out our resources to the point where we're spread too thin, right? It'll dismantle our government. And that's the goal for these people. That's the goal. They so want our country to be destroyed. The United States, we are the last bastion, y'all. It's us. It is on us to save our country. Yeah, because there are people here that feel entitled to resources, that feel entitled to destroy our country. Okay? Not going to happen. Not going to happen not today. Okay? Now let's get into student loans. I wanted to talk about this article that I came across. It says millions of Americans' credit scores drop due to the rising student loan delinquencies. So in summary, millions of Americans saw their credit score significantly drop January to March, largely due to failing to pay student loans after the government unpaused student loans repayments. So nearly 6 million student loan borrowers, or about 14%, were 90 days or more delinquent or in default in this year's first quarter. According to a Federal Reserve Bank of New York report, about 2.2 million recently delinquent borrowers have seen their credit scores drop over 100 points, and over 1 million additional borrowers have seen drops over 150 points. For context, the federal government paused student loan requirements at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic and fully reinstated repayment requirements in October of 2024. This has significant potential effects on the economy, as low credit scores may prevent millions of Americans from making large purchases such as homes and cars. And this is how the media covered it. Newsweek, which is center bias, quoted financial experts highlighting the economic consequences of student loan delinquencies, including the Lending Tree chief consumer finance analyst saying that bad credit can literally cost you tens of thousands of dollars or more over the course of your life. The Washington Post, which is left leaning bias, included the experience of an individual who was denied an automobile loan because of a $440 missed payment, about which she claims the education department never notified her. Fox Business, that leans right bias, noted that nearly 56.6% of newly delinquent borrowers had subpar credit scores before loan repayments were reinstated. And this is difficult because a lot of people, as we've been talking about in this economy, they're working, 3 jobs, some people, just to make up what one job would make them, right? But there is a silver lining. I want people to know that people are being deported. And with that, there are jobs that are available. So those day workers, people just think, okay, they're just doing jobs for like, $20, $30. No, they were doing construction jobs. And guess what? They are being moved out of the way. So young men and women, even young men and women with a prior record, go to Home Depot and replace those day laborers, because you might be able to make anywhere from $500 to $700 cash a day. Yes, I said it. I was in a space over the weekend, and I heard a sister talking about it. I want to try and get her on my show to talk about this, because guess what? As mad as I got, okay, as upset as I got about the ACLU protecting these undocumented individuals, I just want you to know something. The silver lining is this. You guys can now get those jobs, young people. So you recent graduates, or even you babies staying at home. I don't know how young they might let you work. I would say maybe 16, 17. If you can't work at McDonald's, that's fine. Go to Home Depot and get those day laborer jobs, $500 to $700 a day. Add up those numbers. If you're doing that 5 days a week, come on, guys, come on. You can do it. You can do it. You can get out there and get these jobs that are there. And then work on getting your certifications as an electrician, as a welder, as a carpenter, as a forklift operator. Yeah, those jobs are out there. Like, I'm here in Georgia, and they're constantly building and doing things like that. So you guys now have an opportunity to get those jobs, young people. So I want you to go out there and get it. And I also wanted to give hope to those who are in default. I have student loans myself that I'm paying down, and I've been in this situation, and I don't know why they haven't really encouraged people to do this, but guess what? You guys can consolidate your loans. So, like, say if you got 2 of them, you can go to federal student aid where you got your loans, because most people got them through the federal government, right? And get them consolidated. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to help you with your loan. And they will actually work with you according to your income. So if you can only afford to pay $100, that's it. That's all you'll have to pay. But you need to act on it. Do not get discouraged and let it sit and fester and, for months at a time. But I don't know who's not telling these young people that you can do this. Like, this is available to you. And this is, I don't know, it's called messaging. It's just called messaging. I didn't read fully into any of those other articles, but I'm going to give you the tea. This is what you need to do. Now, my service provider is NailNet. I'm not sure if I'm assuming that they are over all of the federal student loans, as far as getting repayment going. Because they had a different service provider, so they changed it to NoNet. But go here again. This is studentaid.gov, and you want to go search loan consolidation. And again, that's going to help you. And they said here, oh, look, I'm just talking about it and not showing you guys. Let me show you guys. I can show you better than I can just tell you. Make it a little bit bigger. But yeah, so you can go here. We're not going to talk to you, little chat bot, right now. But it says the online income-driven repayment, which is IDR, plan and loan consolidation applications are available. Stay up to date on court actions affecting IDR plans. So you guys can still apply for these if if your student loans have gone into default. Even if they've gone into default, this is what you want to do. Do not get somebody trying to tell you to pay them, $500 or $600 and they'll help you, because they're not there to help you. This is free. Okay. Go here, get your application in. They will work with you no matter if you're making money, if you're not making money. They will work with you to make sure that your loans get into forbearance and they're not into default, so that your credit score will not be affected. It's kind of interesting because with student loans, it's the one debt that you can't file bankruptcy on, right? But it affects your credit score. I don't think that's right. It should be one or the other. If it affects my credit score, I should be able to file bankruptcy on it. If I can't file bankruptcy on it, then it shouldn't affect my credit score. Does that make sense to everybody out there? Makes sense to me. So again, I just want to encourage you guys, go to studentaid.gov and search for loan consolidation. As you can see here, direct consolidation loan application, and get it done, because you don't want those loans to get worse and just kind of sit there and let it fester. No. Let me see. Dr. C says IDR is a lifesaver. It has aided many people with loan repayments. You are so correct. But again, why aren't our young people getting this information? I want you guys to have the information that you need, because like they said, you're not going to be able to get a house or a car. But guess what? If you get it consolidated, I would say within about 6 months, smooth sailing, right? You're back into a better place. Your loans are in forbearance. You're current with your payments, which you can pay towards your student loans, and you're on a better track. That's it. That's what that loan consolidation is for. And that's what IDR is for. So I'm just waiting for my wonderful news to come back. I'm like, hey, come back, news. Oh my goodness. Did you all see this headline? Was Trump's decision to send troops into Los Angeles justified? Okay. Put it in the chat. Do you think it was justified? I do. I don't think there was enough, personally. Like I said, you've got over 10 million people in the metropolitan area of Los Angeles. 10 million. And here's the deal. We do have the right to petition our government, right? Freely and peacefully. That's the part. It's freely and peacefully. These individuals aren't peaceful. They have defaced government property and state and city local property, right? Like the mayor's office is completely defaced. FIF, the police, all kinds of nonsense. Burning cars. Okay. Look, he made the right decision. Because let's just step back for a second. What if he didn't send anybody? That's my question. What if President Trump was going to wait on Gavin Newsom? Do you think Gavin Newsom was going to send in the National Guard to assist the ICE agents? Just saying. Oh, Dr. C, she got some replies. She was like, heck yeah, I was justified. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Look, look. Gavin would not have done it. Karen Bass would not have done it. I want everybody to just walk with me for a second, but let's look at January when the fires were going on. What did these people do? Gavin and Karen Bass, they just let it burn. Like the Usher song, Let It Burn. They let it burn down. And then Gavin Newsom came back and stood on the ashes of those houses and said, well, we're just going to build something else. He did that. He did that. People that had lived there for decades and just had their lives burnt to ashes. And they can't rebuild. Oh, yeah, that's right, y'all. They can't rebuild because California has decided to take over eminent domain of those areas and build smart cities in those areas. Why do you think those fires happened? Those fires weren't natural. They burnt all that stuff down so they could do what they're doing now. California is a failed state, everyone. It's failed. And now we've got these protests going on. They're not protests. It is a coordinated effort, again, like I said, to dismantle our government. We need to shut this down. So President Trump's decision to deploy troops to Los Angeles to quell immigration and customs enforcement protests and subsequent unrest has stirred controversy and drawn mixed opinions across the spectrum. Send in the troops. The Wall Street Journal, that leans right bias, published an opinion by Senator Tom Cotton, who penned the infamous New York Times opinion left article in 2020, advocating for military intervention during the Black Lives Matter protests and unrest. Cotton highlighted a statement from LA's police chief who said the violence overwhelmed his forces and that there's no limit to what they're doing to our officers. He referenced his 2020 New York Times article and added, the solution now is the same as I said then, an overwhelming show of force to end the riots. Okay, so you said this. My goodness. Send in the troops. And Dr. C says, no one, Bass, are about themselves, their political careers. Yeah. You're not. They are. They are definitely about themselves. So some people are saying this is Trump's fault. Like, really? Oh, and she said Altadena was a mid-class Black American area, so it was definitely intended to let it go. Yeah, a lot of people are talking about how nefarious the fires were and how targeted they were, because when people heard about the fires, they were like, oh yeah, these fires, they're here. I was like, they had a fire in Santa Monica, Pacific Palisades, and Altadena. Now, geographically, those cities in the span, it's about 3 hours. Okay. It will take you about 2.5 hours to get from Santa Monica to Altadena. Take you about an hour to get from Santa Monica to the Pacific Palisades. So there's no way that those fires were organic. They were on purpose. Truly, truly on purpose. And Dr. C said, yeah, Newsom too. Yeah, he is. They are at fault for this, not Trump, in my opinion. So an opinion from Zahan Aleem of MSNBC, that's left, argued Trump's characterization of the unrest is a dishonest claim meant to delegitimize protest, and it foreshadows a more sinister power grab. Aleem argued local authorities could have handled the unrest on their own and added, make no mistake, the real escalation here came from Trump. No, it didn't. I don't know where you were, Aleem, but I was watching. I was sitting there watching on Sunday. And if the National Guard had not been there, the police would not have been able to get the crowd to get back. So ICE could even get inside the detention center and then leave again. These people are unhinged that are out there. Okay, you think there's just like, some people sitting back and, kind of sipping tea. Yeah, we don't like. No, these people are violent. They are getting in the face of these National Guards, men and women, telling them they're Nazis. How dare you be out here protecting this Nazi regime? Oh, yeah. See, I'm gonna have to find, you know what? I'm gonna have to just go through and find the videos of these crazy people doing their crazy stuff. Because I know everybody you didn't see that on MSNBC, right? You just saw some aerial shots that they picked and made it look like, oh, people are just protesting. No, they're burning cars. Thank goodness that, the police are present the way they are. Sheriffs have had to come in from other counties to help them. Thank God the National Guard is there to, shut down and destabilize this. They had to bring in the riot police to save some businesses. Some businesses weren't so lucky. Yeah, they got broken into and they got some of their things stolen. Yes, they did. To sit here and say that the escalation came from Donald Trump is not only disingenuous. You know what, Aline? If you're on that side with them, you're up for treason too, because you're okay with this. You're okay with aiding and abetting criminals. This is not a power grab. This is not a power grab. For what? What's he gonna gain? Protecting the citizens of Los Angeles? Because guess what? There are people there that want to be protected. The National Guard is not just in Los Angeles. Guess what? They're in Santa Ana. They're in parts of Garden Grove, California, where I grew up. Yeah. LA is not the only place where the National Guard is to protect our country and protect the citizens there of Los Angeles. Yeah, see, you don't even know. You don't even know. California is huge. Outside of Texas, it's one of the other largest states in our union. People don't even realize if President Trump had not sent them in, not only would we see City Hall on fire, the ICE detention center would have been on fire as well, because that's what they want to do. They want to burn it all down. They want to completely destabilize it and then turn around and then they want to blame Donald Trump for it. It's that part. That's what's going on. They want to destabilize our country. And it's sad and it's disgusting. I'm not standing for it. So here's the Democratic split. An opinion from Emily Jahinsky of Unheard Center said the unrest has dangerously split Democrats. Jahinsky highlighted that Senator John Fetterman called the unrest true anarchy and chaos, and some Democrats lose the moral high ground when we refuse to condemn setting cars on fire, destroying buildings, and assaulting law enforcement. Jahinsky mentioned a piece from Politico that leans left that said Newsom has condemned all those things repeatedly, but the message he's currently projecting is steely-eyed opposition to Trump. She concluded, this is the tightrope on which Democrats find themselves balancing. It is possible to oppose Donald Trump while also looking sane. That's the thing. Is it possible to oppose Donald Trump while also looking sane on immigration? No, you can't. You can't. You can't. Here's the thing. You don't have to agree with everything the president's doing, right? I'm not saying that. But you do have to come to a place where If you want to keep people safe, if you want to make sure that they are okay, you have to say, okay, we need to have protection. What does that look like? And here's the thing, Newsom, he wasn't calling in the National Guard because he didn't feel it was worthy of it. Neither did Karen Bass. But again, I'm telling you, if the National Guard was not there to protect the ICE agents and at that detention center, they would have gotten overwhelmed. There were not enough police, and they didn't have battalion police. They just had regular, uniformed officers. And the National Guard was there to back them up. And they still were having trouble with the crowd. So I'm grateful that Donald Trump did intervene. He did have to override Newsom because to this day, where's Newsom at on even bringing in more troops? He doesn't think they're necessary. He just thinks these are peaceful protests. They're not. They are not peaceful protests. LA is on fire. It's crazy. And Dr. C says they're WED also protests in Texas. Yeah. Philly, Chi-Town, it's all psyops to imbalance the country. You're right. Yeah. That map by No Kings that I showed you guys the other day, those little blue dots represent where they're going to have protests on Saturday. They're even going to be having one in my city here in McDonough, Georgia. Yeah. I don't know. I might go get some footage. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. But we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we are going to have our guest, Miss Whitley Yates, for our Women in Wellness Wednesday. So we're going to take a quick break and we will see you guys on the other side. Thanks for joining us.
The browsers of today are broken. They've been overtaken by a barrage of sneaky and annoying ads, trackers that follow your habits, and cookies that build profiles and all sorts of other internet clutter that's taking precedence over the content that you want to see. In fact, these useless bites can take up to a whopping 50% of page load times, with a third of it anxiously trying to learn more about you. To make matters worse, some ad blockers are even letting ads through when large advertisers pay them. But do you really want a leaky ad blocker? It's because of these very reasons that we developed Brave, a new browser that kicks internet crud to the curb and makes it faster, safer, and better to surf the web than your current browser. With Brave, everything you need is built right in. We integrated technology that automatically blocks trackers, annoying ads, and shields everything that can cramp your style and destruct your privacy. With it, you can expect increased speeds nearly 2 times faster on laptops and up to 4 times faster on mobile. And unlike any other browser, Brave allows you to support your favorite publishers with automatic micropayments. So it's a win-win for you and your favorite sites. To top it all off, Brave is open source because we truly believe it's our web and we need to fix it together. So ask yourself this question: do you want a web browser made for the internet of today? If so, try Brave. It's faster, safer, and ad-free.
And thank you for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. I'm your host, Dr. Shakinoni Nichols, and this is our segment for Women in Wellness Wednesday. And again, thank you for joining us here. And we have a special guest. Her name is Whitley Yates, and I'm going to bring her here to the stage. Hi, Whitley.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I can't complain.
That's good. That's good. I'm hoping you're staying safe because we're having a lot of rainstorms down here, and I know like if we're having them, you guys might be having them there in Indiana as well.
It's actually really nice. It's a playoff kind of Wednesday here. So we got the Pacers versus OKC in the city. The sun is out, the birds are chirping, and I hope the Pacers fans will be happy tonight. Hope we win tonight.
Yeah, like right. It's crazy. I'm like, okay, it's June. I'm used to like the playoffs being done like sometime in like April, mid-May, you know.
It
And they're not
does,
going to be
it
done
does
till
feel a
July.
little different this year. And it is a different kind of a finals where you have these teams that are not from the largest cities with the largest markets.
Right.
So it has been really interesting watching people get invested with at least the Pacers.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, secretly OKC, because when oh my gosh, I forget Kevin Durant, when he was there, they came close so many times.
Yeah.
They would get like almost to the finals and then it would just fall off. And it was like, oh, I felt bad for him, but he did well later on. Like, I'm
We
sure he can't complain.
love KD. I'm glad he's not on the team now.
Right. Because they're going to get him back. We never know. We never know. But again, let me allow you to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about what you're doing in the community and where people can follow you. And then we'll get into a topic of your choice.
What am I doing? What am I not doing in the community? So, hello to the Unfiltered family. My name is Whitley Yates. I am a political strategist. I've worked in the realm of politics, specifically on the right, so the conservative Republican side, not only just advocating for more candidates of color, but creating programs to teach people all about politics, to run for office, and to have them win in office. I'm also what I call a community advocate, which to me means I represent my community always and in always, which means if I'm ever at the table, you can guarantee that the community is always put first. I mentor at-risk girls at a high school for years and years and years. And I'm just an all-around human that had another human. So I'm a mom as well. And let's see, I run a PR marketing and advertising agency. I basically do a lot of things.
Awesome. And where can people follow you to find out more about what you're doing?
You can follow me on Twitter, because I refuse to call it X, at Whitley J. Yates. You can follow me on Instagram at Whitley J. Yates. And you can follow me on Facebook. It's at Win James.
Yeah, and it's okay because somebody said it the other day. They're like, "What am I going to call it when I tweet? Am I going to call it an X? Like, how do I do this?"
Why he changed it? I think he wanted to put his stamp on it, quite literally. And I do think does he have a son named X or Z?
I'm not sure. He's got a lot of babies. He's got a lot.
He does.
He's got a crew.
Race to the bottom with him and Nick Cannon.
My goodness. I mean, I think it's one thing to have a basketball team with a sub. You know what I'm saying? Like 6, but y'all got like a whole football team. You know what I mean? And still working on substitutes. I'm just saying.
Back in the day, families did have a lot of children, but they had them with their husband and wife. It was just one
other human.
Right. The way that he's diversifying, like he's spreading pollen throughout the United States, I'm not understanding it. But you know what? His story, his glory. So
yeah. And I'm kind of, it's one of those up and down things with Elon because I am appreciative of what he's done with the platform. But people have said some other things about the platform. Like there's still pornography on the platform. There's still some other things on the platform that need to be cleaned up. But for the most part, I am grateful that people are allowed to speak their mind and have the freedom to on the platform, as opposed to how it was, I want to say during 2020, when a lot of people got shadow banned, they got their accounts, swapped up, and they just got deplatformed altogether, which was crazy. I was like, oh, okay, this is a little bit different, a little bit of freedom. But what did you want to get into and talk about?
Oh, we could talk about anything. We could talk about the riots. We can talk about them sending in the military and kind of basically threatening to take over California, which I do not agree with. We can talk about We can talk about motherhood in 2025 and what that
Okay.
looks like, what it doesn't look like, and the attacks on women in motherhood. We can talk about
Okay.
the political sphere, or we can talk about how to pivot without perishing in a society that likes to consistently and constantly change what it values. I mean, so
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit because, the riots are kind of a big thing. And I don't want to call them riots and I don't want to call them protests. I would rather call it civil unrest.
okay,
Right.
we can put that bow on there.
Yeah.
Civil unrest in
yeah.
California.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm just a little bit confused at the messaging currently. I would think that if I was in this country illegally and wanted to stay in this country, I wouldn't start burning down cars and waving the flag of the country that I abandoned to come to some place illegally. So there's a messaging issue. It's not making sense. If other countries were to send a swath of their citizens to another country and demand things like food stamps or welfare or Section 8 or housing, it would be called a coup in other countries. So the
Right.
fact that we don't even want to call it illegal immigration is just very distasteful. I don't think we can be a sovereign nation unless we protect our borders. And so here we have an issue because California has always been the state that wanted to do everything wrong and do it wrong so badly. I used to be a California resident. I used to live in Los Angeles
Okay.
for a number of years, and I got to really experience what their type of governing feels like. And so I'm not surprised that these issues are happening. I'm not surprised by the level of violence. I'm not surprised by the civil unrest. But what I will say is, as someone who believes in limited government, I don't think that the government should necessarily intervene and attempt to take over the state. I think that they've made their bed, and I think that they need to lie in the bed that they've made. And being a conservative means someone that believes in states' rights. So if you guys consistently vote for a governor that perpetuates these types of problems, then I think that they should have to deal with the problems that they've perpetuated through their leadership.
Yeah. And I totally get that. But like I said, I'm glad that Trump dispersed the National Guard, even overriding Newsom, because those ICE agents, they do fall under his purview. You know what I'm saying? He does need to protect them. So if he didn't call them in, he was going to have to call in the military, right? And the military is like the last resort. We don't want to have to call in the Marines. That's why we have the National Guard. But in the state of California, they literally have the ACLU, and they call it this rapid response for ICE. So if they were to see ICE agents coming to, pick someone up or, take them to the detention center, they've got a phone number to call. And I covered this in a few other segments before you came on, to interrupt ICE doing their job. So it comes, in my opinion, it comes to like, what is Trump supposed to do? Not protect his people that are there. Then you would say he's in a dereliction of duty, right?
Right.
In the state. It's crazy.
I definitely believe that ICE should be protected, and all law enforcement officers that are putting their lives on the line and upholding the rules, regulations, and their call to duty. So I am glad that they are being protected, but there's a bigger issue at play here. And that bigger issue at play is that the policies, specifically of Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, have not been beneficial. So when you're seeing law and disorder and craziness consistently in California, it's because that is what their leadership does. Now, mind you, this is a city that was just on fire not too long ago, while Karen was, hobsnobbing in Ghana at a wedding and not tending to the people. So we go from natural disasters that were mismanaged and handled poorly now to civil unrest and people setting cars on fire and attacking law enforcement officers. And so you're going to consistently see these types of problems when your policies perpetuate this type of petulance.
Yeah, definitely. Now I completely want to shift gears and talk about some things a little bit happier. Okay, let's talk about motherhood in 2025. When you brought that up, I was like, wow, that would be great because you are a younger mom. You know, my youngest is 26. So
Okay.
that's my baby girl. You know, and then we're a blended family. So I have a bonus son and he's 20. He'll be 21 next year. So he's, getting into adulthood. And then I have a 9-year-old grandson. But I wanted to talk to you about, what does motherhood look like in 2025?
Motherhood in 2025, I can tell you what it looks like, but let me tell you what it feels like first. It feels like a constant battle where I am always attempting to protect my daughter from what she's exposed to, from what she sees, and from the rewriting of what's normal. And I say that to say, because in 2025, everything can be renegotiated, right? You can be born a woman and renegotiate to be a man. And there is a pushing of different types of agendas specifically on our children. So I have a 10-year-old daughter, and she asked if she could go to the Pride Parade. And it was a big deal that she had asked to go to the Pride Parade because I had found out after doing some investigating that she had spent the night over one of her friend's house, and she not only had attended a Pride Parade previously, so before she was 10 years old, but also was in the parade. And that was,
Wow.
that was a little bit alarming for me because I did not know that. And I was disappointed because I honestly believe that we should be protecting kids from anything sexual until they're at an age where they can understand and you can be able to decipher. And I believe that I, as a parent, should have the right to what my child is exposed to and what she's not exposed to. So no more supper parties and sleepovers at this point in time because boundaries have been crossed. But it's just really challenging to keep my child at least protected from the information that she's receiving, specifically when society is attempting to normalize certain behaviors. And growing up in the church and still being a part of the church, I want to make sure that she is rearing like morals and character and biblical principles. So she's in a private Christian school, and it has been very challenging. And I honestly feel like motherhood and mothers have been on attack. They've attempted to strip our labels and call us birthing persons, not breastfeeders, but chest feeders. All of these things are changing. And it's not, I don't believe, to the benefit of the greater good, but honestly to succumb to a niche population. And it has felt like an attack, not only an attack on my child, but an attack on me, someone who risked my life to give life. And so it has been quite challenging to navigate, especially being sensitive of the proclivities that are people's preferences, right? Grown people can do whatever they want, but stay away from my child, right? Teach whatever you want. If you want to read books, there are so many nursing homes that you can read books at. I don't believe it should be in my child's elementary school classroom, right? And so I just have and take issue with all of these things. And I'm questioning the intentionality of the agenda. And I know that a lot of people within the community that I am actually friends with are against a lot of the behaviors that are going on. But it seems like they are, a silent minority as opposed to a strong majority.
Yeah. And I hear where you're coming from because, in my opinion, there's a difference between the LGB and then the LGBTQIA+, right? They're two separate things. LGB, they're just like, they live an alternative lifestyle where they know who they are. They're not trying to be anybody else. They are just trying to live their lives, period. Where the LGBTQ plus IA, they want everybody to succumb to their ideology, which in fact is religion, and it's a cult. And the reason why I say this is because if you say anything against them, they will shout you down. If you do not believe the way they do, they will shout you down until you succumb to their belief system. Whenever you're wanting people to believe something, even if it isn't true, that is a cult. Plain and simple. I'm so sorry that your daughter, got pulled into this. And I know as a parent, and I just want to say you're amazing, mom. If nobody's told you, because it's a thankless job. Number one. And I definitely understand it. And thank you for, sharing that with us, because it's painful when you're trying to pick up the pieces, right? And you don't know what your child's been exposed to. And you're like, you don't know what imprints are in her mind and what's going on with her every day, and hopefully you guys have a good enough relationship. And at some point she can say, you know what, mom, I saw this and I didn't feel comfortable with it at the time, but I didn't know how to express it. Now that I have more information, I can tell you, right? And you may end up having those conversations. I don't think the community, the LGBTQIS, I don't think they realize how damaging and scarring what they're doing is, especially to children who don't understand what they're doing as adults. They don't get it. They're being subjected to things that they cannot process. And that's the harm, right? And it's like, okay, you have the right, you say, to express yourself, but we have decency laws in all states across this country. And there are certain things you cannot do in public, especially in front of children. And those are the things that I think need to be enforced. But again, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that.
You know what's interesting? When you talk about groups that want their voices heard and shouting people down that say things differently, I think it is very synonymous with many different movements that we see today. So they haven't necessarily reinvented the wheel per se when it comes to wanting to be heard in the way in which they utilize their voices to be heard. I think the dissonance for me comes when you begin to force people into the language, you begin to mandate it.
Yes.
And almost begin to police it or put it into policy to where other people then have to use it, even if it goes against what they may believe, what they may physically see, even if their intentionality is good and wholesome and not maligned. And so I think that a lot of times, like the demonization of people, the canceling of them and all of that stuff, when it comes to the differences of opinion, really should subside. You can live your life the way that you want to. And that has absolutely nothing to do with my household until it has everything to do with my household. And so I think that allowing people to be who they are and to love whoever they want to love, not in my bed, not in my house, it don't matter to me, is great. Right. But when it starts coming into the school systems, when it starts coming into the books, when it starts, being presented in ways to my young child that I then have to explain. And a lot of it, I don't even understand. So I can't even explain some of these concepts. I'm in the Bible like, well, we got to read about
right.
what the Bible says. And trying to really just take a Christian approach of love first, but really just having to understand the complexities of all of these different things in our changing society. It's overwhelming. And then on top of that, basically being told that I'm not a woman or I'm not a mother, I'm just a birthing person. It just sounds very Handmaid's Tale to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I would recommend a book to you that was recommended to me when my girls were growing up. And it's called Sticky Situations. I think you might still be able to get it on Amazon. And it may not have current events in there, but what it does is they're little short stories. And at the end of it, they're situational. And so you get to answer broader questions like, well, what would you do in this situation? Or how would you think in that situation? And I think it's a good tool to use, especially now because kids are really in sticky situations where they don't want to hurt their friends' feelings, right? And they want to go along with the in crowd, and they want to be, how should I say it? Children live to please us, right? And when we give them attention and when we're showering them with love, when they do things, that's what they want. And unfortunately, they're being showered with love for doing the wrong things. And then when they stand back and they want to stand up for what's normal, they're demonized.
Right.
So what are children going to do? Right? They're going to lean into doing what they see their friends doing because their friends are getting praised and they're getting, all of this attention. And that's the downside. And that's the sick part. that we really have to, pull our kids back and say, you know what, even if people on the outside of this build of our house don't give you praise, just know I always love you. God loves you, and being that center first. But just let me know your thoughts.
So it's really interesting you said that, because I was talking with my first lady this Sunday about this very topic. And it happened because my daughter put a little like side table in the pool to make it appear that she was walking on water after learning that Jesus walked on water. And so we were talking about it, and she was like, well, you didn't like get on her, did you? And I said, absolutely I did. She shouldn't be putting furniture in the pool. And so my first lady then tells me, like, how do you guide the heart, right? Because the heart of her actions was so pure, and she's reading these stories and she's learning about all of these things through Sunday school. And so the fact that she wants to act them out is such a beautiful and pure experience. And then she talked about her own personal experiences with having, I believe it was her nephew, who was raised, and every time he would do something wrong, they'd be like, no, it's this way, it's this way, it's this way. And he was raised very strict. And she was like, and now he is a part of the LGBTQ community. And she talked about the way in which that community embraces people, and the way in which they create a family and love and acceptance, no matter who you are, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're struggling with. And she said, this is the way that we as Christians should be, right? It should be acceptance first before authoritarian. And she was basically saying, like, that there's a way to look at the actions of a child, even when they're wrong, and to guide their heart based upon their heart posture. And how we as parents are in this world now and seeing all these crazy things. And so when we see misbehavior, we want to correct it so quickly and so fast, and not give room for the child to be, to experience, to understand, etc. Because our fear is that the child will then get wrapped up in the world. When in reality, and I said, I'm a spare the rod, spoil the child kind of parent. Like, I'm not sparing that rod. Like, I am a disciplinarian. I expect A's. I expect you to make good decisions. I expect you to be a leader. And I've raised my daughter that way. And so basically she was warning me of really just looking at the heart posture of my child and wrapping my arms around her, even when she makes mistakes. And that being the first gesture, and then explaining and breaking down the consequences of actions, or explaining and breaking down why that decision was bad, as opposed to me just being like, you know better, you should do better because I raised you better. And I thought that was really interesting. And I never thought about the LGBTQ plus community being a community that was so accepting and loving and building this family unit, similar, I believe, sometimes to a gang, where obviously sometimes their intention is nefarious, while this intention is to support the person in whatever transition in life. But she was explaining these gaps in personality and traits, these gaps where they didn't feel loved, or these gaps where they didn't feel enough. And what fills those gaps guides them. And so I think that we have to be careful of how we're filling the gaps as parents today, so that we don't end up pushing our children into lifestyles that are not going to guide them on the right path.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have one of my children that's a part of that community, right? But she and I talked, and she's like, I know you don't agree with my lifestyle, but I know you love me as your daughter, and that's where that's where it comes back to for she and I. It's like, no, I don't agree with what you're doing, but I do love you. And that's where we are at. And a lot of people might say, well, how did she get there and make her own decisions? Because I let her make up her own mind. It's not my life. At a certain juncture, I have to let her live her life, still pray for her, still be there for her, still love her, but let her live her life. Because my grandmother, she's a praying woman, and all 9 of her kids, except for the last 3, the first 6, they were wild. They were definitely prodigal sons and daughters, but they all came back. And that's the one thing that gives me hope. They all came back to God in their own ways. They all have their different testimonies of what God walked them through in their lives. And so that's what keeps me prayerful about my children. So I definitely want to extend that to you as well. You know, it's not over, mama. You got a long way to go. She's 10.
10. We just hit double digits.
10 is an amazing age. I don't know what it was. My mom was like, I just wanted you to be 10. I was like, okay, weird, awkward. But she just loved the age of 10. She was like, no, because you're halfway there. You know, in another 10 years, you're going to be 20. And then you're going to be 21. You know, and you're going to be like a full-fledged adult. You are halfway there. And I was like, wow, I never thought about it that way, but that's, what she gave me. But I want to give you closing thoughts, and thank you so much for joining us in Women in Wellness Wednesday, where we're about spiritual, wellness, mental and physical wellness, but also political wellness. So I just wanted to know what do you want to leave the Unfiltered Vision family with from your perspective on wellness?
I want to leave that you're always where you're supposed to be, even if it's not where you want to be. And that in a society such as this, where we are constantly bombarded with everyone's successes, and a lot of times we cannot see their failures, that you're always where you're supposed to be, and that good things come to those who love the Lord and believe in his work and his passion and plan for your life. And so if you feel that you're in transition in your life, you don't know what to do, you don't know what your purpose is, and you can't find that thing, to really just sit in that, to get to know yourself a little bit more, to stay prayerful, to meditate, and to understand that this season is supposed to be your season. Right. And that a lot of times in your planting season is when your best work is done, because in the planting season, you're covered in dirt, it's dark, you can't see growth, you're being watered and you feel like you are going to drown. But when the inside of that seed starts to grow and you start to manifest and you celebrate that harvest season, because everybody loves the flowers, but nobody loves the pot of soil, right. That it's important to understand and to begin to really find joy in your planting season. So for those people that are going through transition, whether that be job, career, family, life, etc., it's okay. And even when it's not okay, it's going to be okay. And know that you have people that you can always talk to, that you can always call on. If you're ever feeling like it's not going to be okay and that you need those types of resources and help. So I love you guys, family out there. No matter the adversities that you face, you are still awesome. You're better than the worst thing that you've ever done, and the greatest things are still to come.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us here today on Women in Wellness Wednesday. And guys, this is Whitley Yates. Definitely give her a follow. She is on X at Whitley J. Yates. So thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, guys. And with that, we will see you on the other side.
All Sides has created a patented, fair, transparent process to rate the media bias of hundreds of news outlets and writers. We assess each media source and rate them as far left, lean left, center, lean right, or far right, allowing you to quickly identify different perspectives. All Sides uses many methodologies to determine bias, including the Blind Bias Survey, gathering people from all parts of the political bias spectrum and having them read and rate articles blindly, without telling them who wrote the article or which media outlet it came from. Then we take the average bias rating of several articles from a given media outlet for our final bias rating. Another powerful method we use is the editorial review. Focus groups of people with multiple political viewpoints who review the works of a media outlet and come to a consensus on its bias. We also look at credible third-party data, including academic research by top universities. Finally, what you say matters. We gather community feedback on our site every day, including hundreds of thousands of votes on our bias ratings. Our final bias ratings aren't determined by these votes, so they can't be gamed or falsified by any group. But we do analyze those votes for input and look for warning signs that our current bias ratings might be off. All Sides is constantly evolving our media bias engine. The more you participate, the better our ratings will be, and the better our news coverage will be. Go to allsides.com to get involved.
And we are back. Thanks for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. My name is Dr. Shakinoni Nichols, and I will be your host. And we have a good morning from South. Good morning, South. Thanks so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. We just had a wonderful segment with Whitley Yates. Definitely give her a follow on X at Whitley J. Yates. She's amazing. She's doing a lot of stuff. You may have seen her on Newsmax. You may have seen her on, I want to say, what, CNN? She's a political commentator and strategist, and she has just given so much to our community. She represents us all well. I know that she definitely represents us from the conservative side, and that's great. I'm about it, right? She's a mom. She is just out there in the community doing her things. So like I said, give her a follow and make sure you, maybe participate or volunteer in, events that she's got coming up. So I wanted to look a little bit more at All Sides, which you just saw that commercial from All Sides, my favorite platform to use for news and aggregation. And I wanted to look at this section. It says LA unrest. As violent protests erupt in Los Angeles, President Trump activates the National Guard and Marines, clashing with state leaders. Is this a necessary step to restore order or an excessive overreach of federal force? And that is, I think, the balance that a lot of people are looking for. They're like, should he have called in the National Guard? Should he have called in the Marines? And, Whitley and I talked about this a little bit in our segment. In my opinion, I'm glad that he did, because I was watching actually in real time how the crowd that was there, and that's when Maxine Waters showed up, and that was this past Sunday, and how vehement the crowd was towards the National Guards, calling them Nazis, saying to them, how dare you be here? This is disgusting, right? When the front of the building had been defaced, when ICE agents were not able to do their jobs, they were literally trying to rush the detention center at a certain juncture. And they did have some security there that had to come out and hit people with rubber pellets to back them away from the facility so that the ICE agents could get out to do their job. These people are just trying to do their job, and they are there to round up people that are in our country illegally committing crimes. Like those are the first people, right? And then the secondary people are people that are still committed crimes, because it's a crime to cross the border, even though they keep saying it's a civil offense. It's still a crime. Still a crime. Civil, still a crime. But it's just, we have to pay some little what do they call it? A fee, whatever the civil penalty is. It's still a crime, because it's also punishable by jail time. I think you leave that part out, and that part's in there. Okay. Civil fine and or jail time, which it's a crime. Oh my goodness. I need people to stop trying to justify criminal behavior. But you know what? Unfortunately, it's become a thing. Because in 2020, they had raised the what do you call it? The rate of things that you could steal in certain stores. So if you, I guess, stole something under a certain dollar amount, you didn't go to jail. So at that point, you are actually advocating crime, right? You're making it okay for people to be criminals. But then when somebody else comes in and they want to enforce the law, which it always should have been enforced, the babies are sitting back like, what do you mean I can't steal anymore? You shouldn't have been stealing in the first place. It's a crime, period. Like, what are we doing here? So, is it excessive overreach federal force? So on the left, it says there's no need for National Guard and the Marines in LA. And this is this person's opinion, right? And in the center, it says Trump turns the heat up in LA. Okay. And then on the right, Josh Hammer says Trump is right on using federal power in LA. Now, this is something where they brought in like audio perspectives and several clips. I might, check them out first before I play them on there because I don't know what people are actually going to say. But I just wanted to read from you just how far people are. We've gone from no need to Trump is right. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, this is so excessive. Again, there's over 10 million people in the general metropolitan area of Los Angeles. That's a lot of people. And you only have a few thousand, right? Actually said roughly it's like 1,700 National Guard. And then you've got the sheriffs that have come from neighboring counties to help. You've got police officers within LAPD. I don't know if they brought in police officers from neighboring counties, but they're actually using the battalion sheriff's departments. They're using their battalion gear, and they're still being overwhelmed and overrun. They had a curfew last night, and I played some of that for you. And even an hour into the curfew, there were still more people on the streets than they could get off of the streets. Usually, technically, with a curfew, it's like, okay, you got to get off the street, and that's it. And there were so many people that they were rushing them out of one area, and I think they were mainly trying to protect the city hall building in that particular area. The people were still there hours later. I mean, this has gone on since Sunday, full force. It is Wednesday, and there is no signs of them backing down, and they're still going to have more shows of people, and I call it civil unrest. I'm not calling them protests anymore. I'm not even calling them riots. It is civil unrest going on, not just in California. It's everywhere, you guys. This is everywhere. This is crazy. And so I wanted to look at this. How much is this going to cost us? It says the Pentagon estimates deployment of Marines National Guard to LA will cost $134 million. Yeah. And here's my thing. Money well spent. I want those agents protected because they're just there to do their job. They're there to do the job that we, the American people, voted for. We want these people that are here illegally off of our soil, period. We do not want them taking up any of our resources, period. That's it. We want them to do their job. And for California to have a rapid response in place to stop federal employees from doing their job is criminal. Again, the ACLU needs to be deemed a terrorist organization, period. You are impeding federal agents from doing their job, and you're facilitating it. You're aiding and abetting criminal activity. You are a terrorist organization. End of discussion for me, in my opinion, again. So the Pentagon estimates President Donald Trump's deployment of the National Guard and Marines to Los Angeles to quell immigration protests and violence will cost at least $134 million. Trump ordered California's National Guard to deploy 4,100 of its members and 700 Marines to aid in providing security for federal buildings and officials. In a congressional hearing on Tuesday, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth defended the deployment, stating that it was crucial to maintain peace on behalf of law enforcement officers and that the troops would remain for 60 days. For context, Trump has argued that the deployments were necessary to prevent protests and standoffs from spreading, likening them to the 2020 anti-police protests and violence after the death of George Floyd. California Governor Gavin Newsom, who's a Democrat, and President Trump are in dispute over the president's order. So this is how the media covered it. The New York Post, which leans right bias, framed the troop deployment as a necessary response to violent protests and attacks on ICE. It also highlighted the significant costs associated with large-scale riots, such as the 1992 Rodney King riots in Los Angeles and the 2020 George Floyd riots, as context for the estimated $134 million cost of the current operation. The Hill, which is centered, focused on the budgetary questions surrounding the deployment, including how it would be funded and its impact on other military operations. AP News emphasized the criticism Hegseth faced from lawmakers during the budget hearing and also drew attention to their contentious issues within his tenure as Secretary of Defense. Okay, I know there was a lot to unpack, but here's my thing. Before Mr. Hegseth got there, the Pentagon, y'all, didn't they lose it was either $6 billion or $9 billion? They lost billions of dollars. Where was Congress? Where were y'all at? You said nothing. No one was in the hot seat. Nobody got criticized. No one said anything to these people, and they had lost billions of dollars. Just lost. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. We have no idea where it is. It's gone. Seriously? $134 million? That's it? Look, that's cheap. I think we got a discount. Because again, you set aside $12 billion in an Appropriations Act for unaccompanied minor aliens. Let me say that again, $12 billion with a B. You trafficked humans with our tax dollars, and you want to say something to Pete Hegseth and President Trump about $134 million to protect people? You can miss me. You people are wild. Congress, you're wild. How about finding those billions of dollars that the Pentagon lost? Now, some people will say the money's not lost, right? There's discretionary spending that are supposed to be off the books for people that are involved in possible paramilitary activity that you can't talk about, that you can't discuss. But that's where the money is. But you have to say at least how much of it is gone, right? But that's code for discretionary spending within the Pentagon. Are we supposed to be okay with it? Are we supposed to be shocked and awed? It's almost like you have to say it, so you said it. And then we as the general public either have to be outraged or read between the lines. But at the end of the day, you're not accountable for any of it. You don't lose your jobs. You might get people that are upset with you, but you don't care because you're still working there. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're dealing with right now in our country. And I know a lot of people don't like it, and it's okay. It's okay. We'll be better. But I'm definitely in agreement with the money being spent for the troops. And if it gets up to $200 million, which it probably will, because we have more of the civil unrest coming up on June 14th. And I'm going to call it what it is. It is civil unrest. These people want to destabilize our country. They are having a fit that the president wants to actually celebrate 250 years of our U.S. Army. And they keep saying, well, this is about his birthday. It's not about his birthday. His birthday just so happens to fall on the same day. I need you to calm down. I need you to calm down. I get it that you hate America. And here's my thing. If you hate America so much, you can leave. No one's stopping you. Give up, go to another country, denounce your citizenship, and build up that country. How about that? Because you hate it here. You don't like what's going on here. You don't like kings. Why don't you move to England where they actually do have a monarchy? I'm just saying. You might even be related to some people over there. I'm just saying. Just saying. Just check. Just do a genealogy check. Might do you some good. Okay. But I want to thank you guys for joining me here today, listening to me rant. And definitely thank you for joining us here on Women in Wellness Wednesday, where we had the wonderful Whitley Yates join us. And I'm praying for her daughter and her that, she continues to be the amazing mom that she is. And, for all the moms out there, keep going. I know it's a thankless job. It's a tough job. It's something every day you wake up and you're like, and then some days you wake up feeling so happy, but just know that I'm grateful for you. God is grateful for you, and your children are grateful for you as well. And with that, we're going to end today's program, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great one. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you guys.